Welcome to the inaugural episode of On the Road with Outpouring. Today, your host will be Jon Miller and...
Stephen Lisefski.
And...
Jay Taylor.
Okay, in this installment, we're coming home from the Big Apple Con. We will be breaking down dislocated toes, hippies, people that ask for very strange commissions, amongst many other rants. Oh, and getting kicked out of a table space. All right, who wants to lead off? We'll start with ranting first. Who wants to go first, guys?
I'd like to go first.
Okay. Jay, you're up.
So, here's the thing. When I wake up at 4:45 in the morning, in order to get to John's house at 6:15, and I was a few minutes late.
We'll call it 6:15.
We'll call it 6:15, though I got
I'll
there
give you the benefit of the doubt on that one.
I got there at about 6:27, we'll say. And only to arrive at the show in a well-timed, perfect 8 o'clock-ish arrival time.
Yeah, a little before 8, the 8:40 thing going.
Right, exactly. Be there, set up, ready to go. Our space was a bit limited for 3 guys.
The 3 big guys.
Right.
2 tall guys, 2 fat guys. We'll let you guys figure that one out.
And then, as we look around, and the vast majority of the tables in our area seem to go unoccupied as the clock ticks.
Yep.
And 9 o'clock passes.
Yeah.
And 9:30 passes.
Yeah. And the VIPs are already in at this point in time.
And 9:45 passes.
Yeah.
So at this point, we decide, not without prior approval, mind you, that it might be a good idea to eminent domain.
Ooh, I like it.
Yes, the table that was next to us, where I planned.
With the consent of the person who was running Artist Alley.
Exactly. We said, this guy's not here. It's now close to 10 o'clock.
It was
The show's
10.
starting. Isn't it better if we fill this space? I could use it to draw. Steve could use it to sell his original artwork in prints. The show looks more full.
It makes way too much sense.
So what do? We set up.
Obviously.
We are 35 seconds done from setting up.
Around 10:30.
Around 10:30, when the artist in question, who shall go nameless,
Nameless artists. We love this.
shows up. Caught on the train.
Yes. Caught on the train.
Now,
That's a really bad train if it holds you up from, 8 o'clock to 10:30.
exactly. If you got held up on the train and you were getting there at 10:30, you were trying to arrive at, say, 9:45-ish. You didn't care about the rolls. You didn't care about your fellow con people who would have been set up and would have had people at their tables while you're trying to set up.
And you definitely didn't care about the VIPs who dropped like $70 for to have everyone there an hour early.
Exactly. So, obviously this guy shows up. The other guy, who's one of the guys running Artist Alley, rolls up to us and says, "Hey, there's this spot. You guys got to get out." I was a bit perturbed.
How perturbed were you?
I had to take a moment for myself.
What did you do with said moment?
I walked a bit of the floor.
Okay.
I reviewed some...
Little bourbon?
I did not. No. I did not. There was no bourbon today.
Okay.
I walked a bit of the floor. I checked a few dealers' boxes looking for some of the odd things that might be of interest to me. Found none of them. And then finally kind of made my way back over to the table and proceeded to sit down. Rant concluded.
Rant concluded. Who wants to go next? Steve, you got one?
I don't really have a rant.
We don't have a rant?
Not particularly.
Well, tell us about that weird commission that Jay kept on getting for the 4-hour commission? Because I know you had some good language on that during the show.
You want to take this, Steve, or should I go?
You can go. We'll go back. Well, I'll edit, but
you'll edit.
Okay.
Listen, now, the guy was obviously a very nice guy, but he was unsure what exactly he wanted with his commissions. And he asked for the commission initially and started to discuss it and kept changing the terms. And it almost felt like he was trying to find a mix of things where I would say, oh yeah, the price for that is $0. Like he kept kind of saying, well, if I switch it up to black and white and move from one character to 3, but I drop out this character and let you choose what you want to draw, is that $0? No, it's right here. It's this.
Especially with the prices right next to you.
Yeah, I had a little price list sitting right next to me.
It was pretty. I saw the Outpouring logo on it too.
I made that up last night.
That was like above and beyond.
If I hadn't made that up last night, I might have been there at 6:15.
Hey, there we go. You were there at 6:15. We already concluded that.
We agreed.
Because apparently all time is relative now.
But at the end of the day, he was really nice. He ended up getting 2 commissioned books for me. One that he got graded by CGC that was there, and so they had to witness me giving it back to him. That was a Walking Dead 150 sketch cover featuring Daryl Dixon, and then he also got a Batman sketch cover,
which turned out awesome, by the way.
It did.
You know,
mad props to Jay.
I'm going to go on record as saying I thought the Walking Dead one was better.
Really?
You know what? I think I'll agree with that too. Doesn't mean the Batman wasn't good. Just the Walking Dead one was kind of great.
This is where I want to go, right?
Yeah, that's where you want to go.
All right, so just a real quick confirmation as I'm driving and making sure that
we are getting off the New Jersey Turnpike, heading on the Garden State Parkway. That's what we're doing now, guys.
Yeah, but and so at the end of the day, he did not try and stiff me on the commissions. He was very gracious about my artwork, took information about my website, and in general seems like he, maybe we, at least for me, for artwork wise, won a little bit of a fan today. So
yeah, it did end really well.
Okay, my turn.
John's got him ran.
Yeah,
so in breaking news, and by breaking I mean dislocating news, the Cash for Cart, the Art for Cart Fund has officially been started. And by that we mean, while pushing the cart through New York City, our crappy cart that we really should have upgraded, I don't know, 2 years ago. And yes, we've only been doing cons for 1 year and 10 months. But, yeah, I decide that, you know, I can't drive straight with the cart, whatever, when getting on a curb, when rushing out of a New York City street. You know, obviously you rush out of a New York City street. And all of a sudden the cart just snags, but my foot doesn't. And I just plow the foot into the back of the cart. Now, before we finish this part of the story, let's all take a little time to say something about this cart.
It stops on any crack in the road.
It's a POS.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
We've basically covered it. And, you know, dislocated toe now. It's all good. I mean, it is what it is. We're still podcasting, and it's making for a great story.
Yeah. No, I must admit, we did get help rearranging the cart to get back up.
Yes, we did.
Which was very unexpected.
And on the streets of New York City.
Yeah, the person stopped. So I'm walking carrying my artboard and a tote full of goods that really probably pretty much didn't see the light of day. And I look back and I see them like pushing and shoving with the cart, and meanwhile I see like a person, a young lady?
No, it was a dude.
A dude? Stop and kind of help them from the front and lift it up. Well, I can't really do anything because...
Yeah, right outside of Madison Square Garden nonetheless, too.
Right. Both my hands are full. I've got no way to help. And I see them do it, and I'm like, okay, they finally got it up. They're coming over. They're moving very slowly. And they come rolling up, and I'm like, we good? And they go, and John goes, white, face white. No. I broke my toe. And I go, what? And I look down, and one of his toes is looking at me.
Basically. My toe's more or less flipping him off.
Yeah, exactly. And I said, oh, you didn't break it. It's dislocated.
Oh, yeah.
Just pop that thing back in.
And, of course, the knucklehead I am, I really just don't know how to pop it back in. As a matter of fact, it's actually still dislocated right now. I'm going to ice it up when I get home. And then it should slide back in.
In fairness to John, it's not necessarily as easy as it sounds. I've had it done a couple of times with fingers. It's not all that much of a pleasant experience, though. Ostensibly, if you can do it...
And do not insert crude humor there.
Ostensibly, if you can do it before it swells up too much, it is a little bit easier. That window is passed, but I'm sure it'll all resolve itself just nicely.
It'll all be good. Ice, homemade spring, Advil. There we go.
So, do you guys want to talk about how great it was to share a table with Image founder Eric Larsen today?
Yes, we would love to talk about how great it was to share a table with the Image founder Eric Larsen today.
That was
Jay,
fantastic.
talk to us about that.
So, for anyone out there who's listening to this, whoever you may be, who hasn't met me,
Whatever loser you are.
Exactly.
Don't insult the audience. We
What?
need the audience.
What audience?
We're three guys who randomly decided
Right.
to start talking to a cell phone on the way home from a convention.
Well, someone's bound to misclick and listen.
Anyway, so for those of you who've never seen me, and you know that's all of you, I guess. I'm about 6'4".
Your mom might be listening.
My mom. Mom, I'm 6'4". Still.
Okay.
I'm bald. I shave my head, and I apparently bear a striking resemblance to Image founder Eric Larsen. Now, this is especially.
Wait, that was you?
Yes.
Oh, wow. I was wondering how he knew so much about me. I thought I was famous.
Now, it's especially gratifying in that I am a huge fan of Eric Larsen and his book, The Savage Dragon. It happens to be one of those books that I have a reasonably, missing probably about 50 issues to having a complete run. And it's really, if you haven't had a chance to check that out, I don't know if it's going to be a normal thing of the podcast, but I would recommend that if you haven't had a chance to read The Savage Dragon, to go ahead and take a look at it. It is not just the Hulk with a fin. There's a lot more to it that makes it very, very much a book that, in my opinion, is worth checking out. And you can get the back issues for next to nothing.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
I like the idea of all of us giving it like a solid plug to something during the course of it.
And I do gotta admit, when we take that picture, you guys look like you could be brothers.
Yeah, so at the end of the con, while we ditched John at the table to finish packing up,
It's
Steve
okay.
and
I did not have a dislocated toe at this point in time.
Right, that would have been really bad.
They're not that big of jerks.
But like, you and your toe can wait here and do the rest of this. We're gonna go take pictures.
Wait here, toe boy.
The Adventures of Toe Boy.
So we
and Fungus Man.
oh. So we went over to Eric's table, where he was in the midst of a spirited discussion with, I don't know who the guy is because
He's not important. He's not Eric Larsen.
He did inking, I think, for some Star Wars stuff.
Oh,
yeah,
well,
he's a well-known guy. Just in fairness, his name is he's a well-known older
I'm just
Marvel
not familiar with.
We don't know his name, but he was engaged in a discussion with Eric Larsen, which was fine. We were politely waiting, and then another guy just rolls up, steps right in front of us, opens up his portfolio book, and proceeds to talk to Eric about the pieces in the portfolio book.
Ooh.
I also like how he kind of sneaked in there and then acted like he knew what the conversation was automatically.
Right, like he was just like, hey, let me open this up and show you. Now, maybe he was coming back to show Eric something he had seen
Not
earlier.
quite sure.
But either way, it was a hair rude. But we handled it with aplomb.
Okay.
And we waited patiently. And then finally, after not wanting to wait patiently anymore, I raised my head to what was Eric to my level, because he's the same height as I am, and kind of said, hey, Eric, we just get a quick picture with you?
And that was 6'4", right?
I thought he was 6'5", but I think in fairness, he might be maybe a little shorter than me. Steve took
Yeah,
a
I
picture.
think so, a little bit.
We'll have to post it in the
But
show notes. Are we going to have show notes?
Sure.
Sure, why not?
Okay.
By the way, Jay's one of the 2 tall guys. I'm one of the 2 fat guys. You have to figure out who the other fat guy and the other tall guy is.
So we took a picture. We'll post it in the show notes that Steve's going to put together. And
Awesome.
Apparently we look like we could be brothers.
That's awesome, Eric Larsen.
Yeah, and three people? Like, 3 people came up to me
Yeah,
at the
at
show
least 3.
before Eric was there and said, "Hey, Eric Larsen."
We even got someone to come up and say, "Sorry, I did not interview you."
Sorry I missed you among all the image creators who I interviewed in the past.
That was Robert Sidaro. That's a good transition point.
Proud of myself.
So
Thanks,
Robert,
Steve.
I didn't know if we were going to drop names on that one, but
oh no, he's one of us.
okay.
So, yeah, Robert Sidar and I had a very good conversation multiple times during the course of the show. It was all basically, John Orlando should get his butt back to here and, participate in a few shows. So, John Orlando, if you're listening to this, me and Robert Sidar want you to get you to a show. Okay. You're not listening to this, so.
Yeah.
We're going to make this mandatory. So yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was.
They were having actually a colorist talking when we went to go take pictures and stuff.
They did.
And
Eric brought up a really good point.
there was a lot of good points of it, and I don't understand why some colorists were doing certain things. And who's painting over lines?
Well, Steve, I think that's probably a little bit more common than you might think. I mean, I hear a lot about colors who go in there and kind of change artwork, and I think in the industry today it's a norm.
I was just saying that, like, a lot of the colors that he was showing I liked, but there was, like, no texture and stuff, like, I don't know. But who am I?
I mean, if you want a colorist who doesn't paint in the lines, you can get me.
No, it was good colors. It was just, what he was saying, it was sterile?
It was really saturated.
It was.
The stuff that he had the saturation was cranked up. And you're right, there was no grit.
Yeah.
I don't know about how anybody else feels, but one of the things that I like the most is not sloppy artwork, but artwork where the line art and then the color works together to display some atmospheric grit. Like, if you're in the middle of a fight scene, let's say you're in the middle of the fight scene that's going to be in Heroes United.
Ooh.
Dun, dun, dun.
Wait.
That would be a transition.
Yeah, there we go.
If you're in the middle of that fight scene, the line art should convey that, look, you're kicking up some dust. You're kicking up some debris. There's some particles floating around in the air. And if everybody's working together and doing their job right, there should be opportunities for the line art to show that through as specks of white and different stuff like that at certain times. And then the color can come in and can wash some color into that in order to... I'm getting the hand gesture.
We should go in the middle lane because this goes to PNC.
That we should be...
Oh, yeah.
We almost did this last time.
Screwy part.
We're not going to the PNC Bank Art Center.
Yeah, we don't like that place.
We almost did that last time.
All right.
Unless someone really cool is there, which isn't all that often.
Yeah. So...
We love you, PNC Bank.
Hi.
Center. Arts. Yeah.
They're not listening
Back
either.
to the conversation.
Yeah, so I agree. And then the one thing that Eric was talking about is, look, everybody wants to shine.
Yeah.
Everybody who's part of a team of comic creators wants to have their moment to shine, right?
Yeah.
As the penciler, I want my moment to shine. My moment to shine is in the stage direction, right? It's in the choreography of how the story beats are going to happen.
Yeah.
As the inker, your opportunity to shine, in my opinion, humble as it may not be, is in the effects, is in the ability to deliver on that, that splash page where you draw that amazing impact lines. You know what I mean? Or when you take something and that's really cool and make it super linear, or you choose to darken out an area so that the blacks on the page balance. The colorists, they want to shine too, and I think what Eric was speaking to, if I could be so bold as to put words in my own mouth as Eric Larsen.
Yeah, I mean,
he was suggesting that there's times when colorists are attempting to shine, but the efforts to shine don't match up to what the lighting suggestion or sources are.
they want to shine to the point
lineup.
where they're showboating.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
if you, like he was talking about a roll on a forearm where the forearm's in deep black shadow, and now you're rolling up to the light, and as you roll up to the light, there's an opening for your, I can't remember the name of these little serratus muscles or whatever in your forearm, but there's openings to show spots where they're not quite in shadow anymore, and then the colorist takes that opportunity to show a gigantic reflected light there, which probably doesn't happen if the bottom of the arm is in deep shadow. Otherwise, the bottom of the arm can't be in deep shadow. It would have to have that same reflected light.
Exactly.
Now, making a gigantic, color pop there, and, that's... But I think you see that. I think you see it a lot.
Because I was looking at the pictures, and it just seemed like a lot of one kind of brush, and
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people who use texture and stuff, and you get that kind of what you're talking about, grit, and it brings the picture to life. And I guess they deal with a lot of people who do kind of, I guess, as long as it looks decent enough to get in there.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm just not really about that. There's,
John,
I don't
your
know, I'm
thoughts?
My thoughts on this, I defer to Eric Larsen.
Well said. What else happened that was really cool? Oh, let's talk cookies.
Cookies. Cookies and pizza and water.
Well,
That's
yes.
basically like
This is the second con that we got food at for
second
free.
con in a row.
In
Which-
a row.
I'm feeling like this is a trend for 2016.
I'm getting spoiled for this.
All you con owners that are listening, we want to be fed and
See,
provided free beverages.
We're never gonna get invited anywhere.
And listen, as long as we're asking for beverages.
Little bourbon here.
They're not.
Just saying.
That makes it a totally different con altogether.
Probably, yes.
You hear us now read Pop
Actually-
Organization.
Actually,
We get free water everywhere else we go, and cookies and pizza and rice and fish. Yes, rice and fish.
one of the very first Asbury Park Comic Cons actually had a bar.
It did.
An open bar.
An open bar
Well, it wasn't open,
Oh.
around
but
artists.
it was
Oh,
literally
man.
2 minutes away from Artist Alley. So
Okay.
it was at a bowling alley, actually.
I've seen a number of cons where they're in hotels, and it's just a given that that's available, and people partake of that, and I don't think that's a terrible thing. It adds to the atmosphere. Obviously, everybody has to have somebody to drive them home and make sure they get there safe, and all those sorts of things. But look, it can help loosen people up a little bit. It can help as an artist. It can help you be a little bit more engaging sometimes with the public, though personally, I don't usually need that.
So on a side note, I heard of loosening up and making an impression or something like that. And there was definitely a guy who, when I was walking around, who was following me, who was very loosened up in his bowels, and he had no problem making an impression.
Oh,
What?
oh my!
Who was stalking you?
So I don't know, but he
There was
just
a guy
kept
following you
on.
around who
Yeah, he just kept on ripping one after another. And I'm like, really? I'm standing in line waiting for Mark Teixeira, and you're standing behind me. Well, no, you're standing 2 people in behind me and just ripping it. We all know it's you, and you're just looking around like nothing is happening.
I can honestly say out of all the times I walked around, I did not get that.
Yeah, I didn't have that happen. So let's, but you brought up an interesting point there. Let's talk Mark Teixeira.
Mark Teixeira, great guy, class act. Like,
yeah. Stopped by the table early on. Seemed like he was going to co-op another artist who we'll get to later because I do need a special shout out.
Okay.
But it seemed like he was going to co-op the table early on, and then ultimately decided not. He was going to go to his appointed table. But really nice. Was very complimentary to me about a piece that I had on my board. It was from a life study drawing live figure study drawing that I do. But yeah, just a really, really nice guy.
Very animated at his table. You know, I waited in line to actually give him a book for Inheritance. Yes, I remembered you guys. You're not going to listen anyway, though, so I don't know why I'm telling you that.
Again, mandatory.
But you know, he just interacted with the fans really well. He signed multiple things. He was like, I think any signature past the first one he only charged $1 for, which, you know, some of these guys just charge like $5-10 per signature. I'm not going to name anyone. I didn't cough anyone really there, because I'm not going to do that, because we all know there's people like that.
Yep.
But very interactive. He drew faces, you know, Sabretooth on and Wolverine on comics. He didn't just sign it. He drew Ghost Rider, so on and so forth. And he, you know, he was like making the faces of the characters he was drawing too, which was very fun to watch.
Well, I'll say this: I do that all the time.
Yeah.
When I'm drawing and I need especially if it's a certain kind of extreme expression, I will find myself mentally doing that thing.
When I'm writing dialogue, I stand in front of the mirror and actually talk in the voices of the characters I made up in my head. And
Oh wait, that might be a problem.
That might be a problem.
that might actually be a problem.
Well,
that happened to
all
William.
artists are
That happened to
alcoholics,
Willem.
all writers are insane.
That happened to Willem Dafoe in Spider-Man, and that was definitely a problem.
Oh, okay. It's okay. I don't answer back too often.
Oh.
When I do colors, I make up background stories for the background characters that I'm making, the reason why they're wearing certain things, which has nothing to do with the book. No one will ever know. But I sit there, I'm like, you're wearing this shirt because of this, and blah. And I go into tangents of why these people are wearing certain colors.
Nice.
When you draw me, what do you picture me in?
What? I said coloring. I think we're going in a different realm on that one.
No. Okay, let's get back on the high road. Speaking of that, we are still on the Garden State Parkway. I'm really not quite sure where we're at. We're at exit 107.
Yep.
So somewhere probably around Red Bank.
Let's make it so. I'm now going to head into Warp Factor 10 here.
Warp Factor 10. What else we got? You had a special shout out for someone.
Oh, yeah. So now, after my little moment when I was so upset, we came back. Where we were positioned, we were on a corner. And the corner that we were on was should have been a very, very good corner, and turned out, I think, to be so. Because the end cap of that corner were 2 tables for a gentleman whose name is Riley Brown. Now, if you don't know who Riley Brown is, audience, and again, we use the term loosely, but if you don't know who the guy Riley Brown is, audience, he's currently the artist on Deadpool, and he's a great artist. He really has had a great take on that character on Deadpool, the Gauntlet, Deadpool versus Dracula, I believe, and then he also did Deadpool and Cable. And it's a style that, you know, I don't normally find myself super attracted to, but it's just so fitting for Deadpool. It's an open, less detail, but a little bit more, I'll call it design-oriented style. but a very, very busy. And the expressions on Deadpool's face are just really not to be beat. But that's about his art, and I want to talk about the person, because...
Oh, quick comment on the art.
Go ahead.
That backdrop behind him where he showed Lobo fighting Deadpool, that was awesome.
He's also done work on Deadpool, too. I mean, on Lobo. So, but yeah, so he's a phenomenal artist, worked for the big two, just, one of the rising stars. And in point of fact, was a guest of Anthony's comic art. And, that was one of the reasons why I had the two tables. So, he was late to the show as well. I don't know if you know it, but recently his an apartment next to his apartment burned down, and there was a lot of smoke damage to a lot of stuff. So he's been kind of set up in a different place, and he's got a young child, so he's going through a little bit of a tough time. But so he was a little bit late today.
So he didn't miss a train.
Say it?
He didn't miss a train.
No, yeah, it wasn't that there was a train. He's just, so he got there a little bit later too.
Yeah.
So while we were needing the space, after we got kicked out of the other eminent domain, we sort of co-opted a little tiny corner of his two tables, which he wasn't there, and so it was no big deal. And so I started drawing on there. And I was drawing there for probably about, 15, 20 minutes when he arrived. And when he arrived, he kind of sat down and he got set up at his table and he started spreading stuff out. He didn't even know he had two tables. Said hello to me. Now, we had met prior because he, at one point, was doing a guest lecture at a comics experience class that I attended. comicsexperience.com. Go there, check him out. Great stuff.
Yes.
So Riley was doing a guest lecture for Comics Experience, and so we interacted a little bit in the class and on the forums, but we had never met in person. I introduced myself. He was really nice. I said, actually, these are both your tables. And he said, oh, you know what? Well, I don't mind. Seriously, if you want a little bit of if you want to just have that end to, sit your drawing board on, it's totally fine.
Complete class act.
Total class act.
Amazing.
Right? So... Initially I said, I don't want to do that. I'm sure you're going to need the space. You're going to have a line all show long. And he laughed that off, though I will say he had a line almost all show long.
Yeah,
yes, he did.
To have him sign books by his prints.
Deadpool's bigger now than he was ever.
Yeah. But a total class act, was really nice. We were talking about how to use tools. He was, kind of talking about some of the elements of his process. Super kind to all the fans who came up.
Yeah.
Just a nice guy. Saw a ton of pros come up and say, hey, heard about what happened, really wishing you well, Just the kind of guy who everybody roots for. And I was really, happy with how he treated us. Was really gratified that he was such a great guy, as I knew he would be. So, major shout out to Riley Brown.
Major shout out.
What else we got?
I'm going to give a quick shout out to Sci-Fi Ninja Theater.
Sci-Fi Ninja Theater.
So they're one of the two people that came around and interviewed us today. But
okay, that's what that was.
They were clearly there for the big guys. They were not doing a lot of smaller press interviews or regular artist alley interviews at first. They were hitting one big guy after another. However, eventually, I just waved to them when they're passing by, and he comes over and he's like, do you mind if I interview? And I was like, okay. So, because, I never back out off of that. And not only did he conduct the interview when he was clearly there for the Marvel and DC guys, well, amongst other big names, but he also expressed a real interest, like he actually cared. So, and that's a good feeling when a guy who is there for the celebrities, when they actually care what's going on with the small press and indies. So their show is Sci-Fi Ninja Theater, and you gotta love the name too, just because. I don't know what a sci-fi ninja looks like. I'm sure no one does, because anyone who's interacted with one is dead. But
I can think of one. Zen. Intergalactic Ninja.
Oh, yeah.
Comic series from the 90s. I don't know who else remembers it out there.
I've heard, I'm vaguely familiar.
I'm pretty sure he would have to qualify as a sci-fi ninja.
Okay, there we go. We kind of actually have our own little sci-fi ninja in Limbo too, but whenever we get that series relaunched.
Nice.
But this is a shout out to an artist that shall remain nameless, but you know who you are that's holding it up.
Dun, dun,
One,
dun.
three, 1, 2, 3. Ooh. I also would love to shout out a group who came over to me as I was doing as I was getting set to do a commission, and this gentleman whose name is Scott Barnes, and I believe it was his wife, and I apologize, I can't remember her name, and I also can't remember the website that they're on, but we will correct that. We'll put it in the show notes to say where they are, what website they're from, and what their whole thing was. But I was totally just dying of hunger. It was probably about 12:30, 12:45, and I had not had any lunch yet, and they walked by with a pizza. And I think they were literally just bringing a slice of pizza to Riley Brown because they were friends with him and knew him. And I said, oh my God, pizza, I'm dying for a slice. They're like, oh, do you want one? I'm like, yes, and I will do you a quick 3-minute head sketch if you give me a pizza. And they're like, oh my God, sure, yeah, done. They handed me a book. They opened it up. They're like, who do you want to do? I'm like, I don't know. Who do you want me to do? And they like, so we said, all right, how about I do a Deadpool since Riley Brown's right there? I knocked out a real quick Deadpool sketch. They were so kind. They doubled back later and asked if I could do a sketch of their logo, which, given the nature of their logo, is probably not something that I necessarily is kind of in my wheelhouse. But then later on, when I had my Moleskin daily sketchbook out, because I do the daily sketch challenge in the Moleskin book, they stopped by and they did a little interview with me, where they had their little camcorder, they popped it open, we spent a little bit of time talking about what the whole Moleskin daily challenge was, and yeah, so definitely check them out once we actually tell you who they are.
So, I just want to, say something about Big Apple Con. The big review for me on this one is, it's a good show.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good.
The fans are very interactive. They care about their vendors.
Yes.
Yeah, we're going off here. And, yeah, it's a little crowded. And for me, it was a little hot. So the environment wasn't necessarily what it could have been. The bathrooms weren't great either. But all in all, I say that this is a good show. And, I'd recommend it for people who actually want to attend it in 2017.
I'm going to echo John and say that I thought it was a really good show. There are some things that I think they will, or they hopefully will, iron out. I think it's a returning show from something that had a long history, but I think it was only their second year back doing it this way.
Yeah.
And so there's some disorganization things that I think they'll kind of get corrected. But I mean, if you want to talk about a show where if you wanted to see Neil Adams, you could go see Neil Adams. And I know I bring that name up and I brought it up throughout the day. But if you wanted to see Neil Adams, you could go see Neil Adams, one of the greatest comic book artists ever, there. You could see Image founder Eric Larsen just at a table, walk right up to him. You could see 2 spots over from us, David Lloyd from V for Vendetta. I mean, there was just a guest list that was really unparalleled. And then, if you're looking for comics, man, you came to the right place, because
everywhere.
There were so many dealers with so many high quality, major...
No, go down more. Sorry.
Major books that, you know, are just like key books. And
complete sets.
And then I think I just turned down the wrong street.
I think you did.
And then also...
this is why we this is why we do it on the road, because
Yeah.
wrong turns make for good conversations.
Right. Happy accidents.
Oh, nice.
But then also the original art. I don't know if you guys had a chance to go around and look, but just at Anthony's alone, there was so much great original art there. You know,
Shira had Wolverines, Sabretooths, and Ghost Riders at his table for sale.
If you're an original art fan, this was an amazing show to go to. There was just unbelievable stuff to be had.
All right, let's let Steve wrap this one up.
Bring it home.
This was actually my first time there. I really enjoyed it. Like you were saying, they have great quality work from Artist Alley to the independent publishers to the vendors. They had a few celebrity people, not a whole bunch, a lot, where it's taking over the whole convention. But overall, it was great. And even with the free food definitely pushes it up there, I have to say.
And the fact that the clientele cared as much about small press as they did about celebrities.
Yes, very much so. Otherwise, I would recommend it to anyone to either go or try to get a table. Either way, get your butt there.
Awesome. Well, that ends the first podcast of On the Road with Outpouring. Tune in next time when, well, who knows?
Something
It'll happen.
Something happens. I don't know. The next thing that happens is trying to shut off the phone.